It's easy to draw a correlation with a business-minded person or a real estate agent. Anyone who is used to, quote unquote, the hustle, right? It's no different. You love real estate. You love having a brokerage, all of these things, I'm sure. But there are little micro fires every single day that make you absolutely hate it. Like, it sucks in the moment, but when you look at it from the 10,000 foot view, you love it. You can't get enough of it. Same thing with fitness. You take a 10,000 foot view, see yourself in 2 years if you stuck to the program you're on right now. Yes, it would suck in the moment, but you would realize, okay, I'm on the right path. This is what I'm doing. Like, it's no different than business. You do the hard things. And I always argue, do the hard things first.
Ready? Ready to rock and roll? Is that action? All right.
Okay. That's right.
All right.
Absolutely. Go. 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 Go.
Hello, everybody. It's Jason Will with
Go. Go. Go.
This is a real estate podcast, but we talk about leadership, personal growth, and becoming the best version of yourself. Leadership, check 1, 2, check 1, 2. Growth, best version of yourself.
Go.
So this is a real estate podcast. Welcome, everybody, to the Impact Agent Podcast. I am your host, Jason Will. I am joined by my co-host, the beautiful and talented Miss Victoria Jones.
Hello.
And we are with Andy Vickers, who is you're not a serial entrepreneur, but like you aspire to be like.
Yeah, I like, right now I'm claiming fitness entrepreneur, but yeah, I've done a lot of very unrelated things across multiple sectors, but fitness is my main thing.
But you got big goals.
Big goals.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you just don't want to own a couple gyms.
Yeah, no, I want to own gyms across the entire Gulf Coast.
Across the entire Gulf Coast.
Then I want to sell them. I don't want to help other people open their gyms.
Wow.
That's the plan.
That's awesome. I love people with plans. Like, how is that a 10-year plan, 20-year plan?
I don't set a timestamp on it.
Well,
I'd say 10.
10.
I have a 5-year plan.
A 5-year plan? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I'll get one. I think I'm going to get one now. I'm going to get a plan. Well, let's tell everybody what you do. I mean, you started out as a professional athlete.
Yeah, so I was pursuing a professional water sports career throughout college. College was plan B, so I was on scholarship, told my parents, okay, I'll do this so I can have it as a fallback plan. But when I graduate, I'm going to give myself some time to pursue it. So walked across the stage, and then I believe it was 3 weeks after that, was in my first contest since graduation, and completely snapped my foot.
Oh, no.
So my toes touched my shin, actually, is what happened. It's called a Liz Frank injury. Super rare, and the reason it's called Liz Frank is because back in the old days, the surgeon that was on the battlefield, people would get this injury a lot from falling off a horse. So if you fall at a funky angle and your toes, flex towards your shin, his last name was Liz Frank, and the cure for this back then was amputation.
Oh, God.
Because you just had a mangled foot that was dangling. So that's how kind of gnarly the injury was. It was supposed to be a 3-month recovery, though, right back at it. Had some complications. My body rejected all the hardware, got an infection. Long story short, tried to make a comeback. Wasn't happening.
Did you get in jeopardy of something serious happening? Like was the infection bad?
Yeah, they said I could have lost my foot if I wouldn't have noticed it when I did. I'd actually started training again and noticed that my foot got really red around the incision site one day afterwards, and I was in river water, so all kinds of bacteria and everything, and called the doc and was like, hey, I think I have an issue. He's like, is it hot to the touch? And I was like, yeah, burning hot. He's like, yeah, come in right now.
Do you have screws and bolts?
I did. So it's all out now
because
my body's, good and bad. So the screw that they put in was supposed to replace this ligament. The ligament would heal back over time, but essentially my foot couldn't bend that way ever again. And my foot, I started to notice a bump on the side of my foot. And I went in and asked the surgeon, and he said, yeah, your body's rejecting it. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? He said, it's literally backing the screw out. I said, all right, well, what do we do? He said, well, either way it's coming out. We can either cut it and get it out of there, or you can let it put itself out. And I was like, I like that first option better.
Oh, my gosh. So is it painful to this day?
It's a lot better now. It still has its days, but I dealt with it for many years, especially trying to get back into the fitness world. And I did CrossFit competitively for a little while after that and had flare-ups all the time. So just now to a point where I can go out for fun and hang out on the river and do some wakeboarding, but it's still, I have to keep an eye on it and sometimes have to ice it.
Do your doctors know that you're back wakeboarding?
No, they don't.
Well, what I know of
I
you,
hope they're not watching.
Yeah, me too. I follow you on Facebook, and you're really into personal development and reading, just absorbing knowledge and putting out inspirational content. Were you always that way, or did you have a little dip after your injury?
Yeah, definitely had a little dip with some depression after the injury and started to really get into reading, into self-development and mindset, everything from, neuroscience to affirmations. And from that point, I saw what it did for me. And so people kind of asked like how I dug myself out of the funk. And that's kind of what fueled me sharing that with others.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think of affirmations as kind of hocus pocus.
I did too. When I first read it, so the lady who got me onto this, her name is Terry Savelle Foy. I'm actually doing some cool projects with her now, which is awesome, which is part of the whole affirmation thing, because I said I was going to do work with her in the future. But she got me onto it. And what really caught my attention there, because anytime I heard about The Secret or the Law of Attraction or anything, it was never backed by anything. It was always people who were just saying, this is the way it is. She took the time to explain biblical reasoning behind it, which I'm a Christian, so that really caught my attention, as well as the science behind it. So that really built credibility for it. And the thing that really got me to participate was she said, even if you don't believe it, just say it. Like, test me. Put something on a vision board, read out your affirmations. Even if you're doing it out of spite, do it and watch what happens. And sometimes that's what it was. Especially in the down season, because I'm sitting here saying these things that are totally the opposite of my reality at that time, out of spite.
Just a quick rewind. Are you saying that, this became like a virtual mentor of yours and you kind of you're like, one day I will work with this person?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have emails on my phone from some emails we were exchanging 24 hours ago. It's absolutely insane. She came and spoke at a conference in Mobile, Alabama, and I just like shot out of the crowd and said, hey, this is all because of you. Like all these things that have happened, like the gym has been on my vision board for going on 5 years before we actually broke ground on it. And what's crazy, and I didn't realize this until after we had already opened the second one, that the picture of the gym on my vision board has all rubber flooring, just like I have, with one strip of AstroTurf, which is a franchise regulated thing. But my gyms now have all rubber flooring with one strip of AstroTurf. It is a different color, but it's freaky how close it is.
That is freaky.
I like that.
It's mind-boggling. I didn't know, and I didn't even, that's like a small detail that just jumped out at me recently.
Well, I think people have, the majority of people probably struggle with connecting the dots here. Okay, so they're probably saying, well, too bad for Andy, he had an injury, but he's probably got wealthy parents, or he's just, it can't be that bad, he's a gym owner. But there's something there that was an easy connection for you to go to somebody that had an injury, who then dealt with depression, who dug himself out with reading. They're thinking like, so how does all this happen if you don't have a benefactor, or you don't have, you're not independently wealthy, or you're a trust fund baby? How do you go from somebody who was just going to be a professional wakeboarder to now a business owner? Which
I'm none of those, just for the record.
Yeah.
So my mother is a human resources manager. My father is a construction superintendent. So totally unrelated areas, and I've never taken any investment from them, although they have invested in me throughout the years to send me to school, to keep food in my mouth, all that, taking great care of me. But no, I'm not a trust fund baby. The only way that I can credit it to is my faith in God, because if I look back at it now, it's nothing that I could have done on my own. Like, I could not strategically, the timeline makes no sense. The relationships make no sense. It's 100% just been divine appointments with people throughout time. When I first got started really into entrepreneurship after the injury, the first guy that I reached out to was a guy that I saw on Shark Tank and realized was from the city of Mobile. And I'm like, if I say I want to be an entrepreneur, then I need to ask this guy to lunch. So I shot him a Facebook message, and he said, yeah, you like Chipotle? I said, heck yeah, I love Chipotle. All right, meet me there tomorrow at 1. And then it said, it turned into, hey, I want to work for you for free. Just want to learn from you. And then he brought me on staff in one company. We went on to do a startup together, and now we work on projects outside of this, like in the consulting space together. So everything from that to the guys that I bumped into that are investing behind the F45s, just same thing, just completely out of nowhere. And the weirdest thing is we had no mutual friends on social media, anything, just cross paths.
Okay, so this is important, I think. And I want to move on to faith versus personal development, because I know in the Christian space, they're very protective of God being the path and the one and only entity that deserves credit, that the human animal can't really fix itself in the absence of Christ.
Right.
So I want to get to that. I want to get your take on that.
Yeah, I'd love to give it.
Okay.
I have a very controversial take on that.
Well, I can't wait to hear it. But I wanted just to connect these dots because I feel like these people out here really need this paint by numbers instruction. But I just have to guess that through you start following people on social media, you start investing in podcasts, I don't know if it's webinars, but books and just articles. And if you start reading these people about people, like these virtual mentors you have, they probably have these similar stories. Like they cross paths with somebody.
Every single story has it. Like if you study successful people, you'll notice that success leaves clues. There are common denominators among everyone, from Michael Jordan to Gary Vaynerchuk to Grant Cardone. Anybody across all of these sectors, they all have some similar characteristics that got them to where they are. And I believe that, your mindset is 100% environmental. I mean, science backs it. Neuroplasticity is a real thing. Like what you are feeding your brain and the people you're surrounding yourself with are going to determine your mindset. Same reason why when you're on the opposite side of the spectrum doing the wrong things with the wrong people, yes, it's your fault. You chose to hang out with those people, but you're just a product of your environment. So when you change your environment, that's whenever you start to essentially change your life.
And these people that are helping you, somebody helped them.
Absolutely.
And so it's just this cycle of paying it forward that just keeps repeating itself. But you have to first seek to better yourself before they're going to want to invest in you and want to help you better yourself.
Absolutely. You got to show them you're serious.
Yeah.
Like I said, the first kind of relationship that I stepped out on a limb to build, I said, hey, let me work for you for free. And I didn't walk in here and we have meetings and talk about how we're going to grow this organization over the next 5 years. No, I went and planted flower beds.
Right.
It's not this sexy thing that we oftentimes build in our mind, but you have to build credibility through that.
Yeah. All right. So let's get to this. I want to hear your take on it. So just walk us down your viewpoint in terms of maybe what you feel or the role personal development has in faith.
Yeah. So oftentimes I'm trying to think of a way to bring it down into an explainable way because it's always been up in my head. People oftentimes separate, faith and science. And personal development kind of sits in that middle. And you'll have people who speak to both ends of that spectrum. So some people say it's all 100% God. Some people will say, oh, it's the universe, science-based. But as I've studied science deeper and deeper, it's only further backed my faith. So I believe in God. I believe in what the Bible says. I believe in the power of the tongue. That's the same thing as speaking something into existence. So I've never understood when people lean towards science, how they can say that can make you, have disbelief in God. Because for me, it's always just further backed it. I think that an unpopular conversation right now amongst the modern church is that there's a hustle component. There is an input on your behalf. So a lot of people want to say, oh, if this opportunity just doesn't happen, then it just wasn't the Lord's plan. And I always say, well, did you exhaust your resources? Did you put in all the effort that you can put? Because until you do that, you can't rule out that any of it was your fault. It can't just all be on God because you have to do works as well. A man who doesn't work doesn't eat. Bible says it. That requires work. And I think that a lot of people oftentimes now are using it as a crutch to say, oh, well, that opportunity, just kind of slipped through the cracks. It must not have been God's plan, which sometimes that is the case. There are many times that happened in my life, but did you exhaust your resources before you ruled it out as that?
Okay. Victoria is recently saved. How long have you been a Christian?
Probably about a year now.
About a year now. And so,
best decision you'll ever make in your life.
It's definitely been the best decision I've ever made.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so she's overcoming some personal challenges right now. But I sent her when we first started talking about her coming to work with us. I sent her some Gary Vee stuff, and she was really drawn to it. And she's like, "Wow, this is powerful." So for me, I feel like people like Gary Vee, people that are motivational and inspirational, whether they have a faith basis or not, can positively affect somebody's life.
Absolutely. But the best thing is when I send somebody a piece of Gary Vee's content and I get the response of oh, I didn't listen to it. I heard the F-bomb. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, that's not your style. That's not mine either. I'm not dropping F-bombs on this podcast. But see through that to see the value in the content. We're all different. We all have different struggles. We all have different things that is just the way we are, right? His happens to be that. That doesn't rule out his whole strategy, his mindset. I mean, if you meet the guy and sit down and visit with him or work with him in real life, like he is what you see on the camera, the most genuine human being you'll ever meet. But so many people can have that close-minded viewpoint of, well, I heard an F-bomb. He's not my guy. That content's not for me.
Yeah, I think how we can take this like really something that really hits home with you and what you do for a living is that you see a lot of people that of the Christian faith who are not treating their body as a temple.
Absolutely.
And they need somebody, they may pray about it a lot, but you're actually the person that's going to hold them accountable, get their butt in the gym and do something about it.
Absolutely. You can pray for healing all you want.
Yeah.
That's a huge one is I have this preventable disease. I'm believing God is going to heal me. I'm believing too. I want to join you on that. God will heal you. You've got to do your part. If you have type 2 diabetes and you're eating a Snickers while you pray to God to heal you from type 2 diabetes,
is that
I'm not
hypocritical?
following that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you see it all the time. But the same thing is, the reason why I never point a finger at someone else's sin, everyone's got a different one, right? So the guy who's an alcoholic, well, is he any worse than the dude who can't turn down the buffet? I would argue that they're probably going to die at about the same rate. And they're not going to fulfill whatever their purpose is on this earth. So both of them are being irresponsible with the life they've been given.
Yeah, that's kind of powerful when he says, like, when you're kind of future basing it and say, you have a preventable disease. Mm-hmm. So if they don't do something about it, they're going to get some form of disease, cancer, heart disease, diabetes.
Absolutely. In the modern American diet, if you aren't doing anything reactive or proactively, you're going to have to medicate reactively. Yeah. It's not an if, it's a when. The things that we're eating and our sedentary lifestyle is a recipe for preventable disease. So if you're not getting off the couch and getting off the carbs, you are headed down a path where you will be, faced with it one day. Different timelines for different people with different genetic predispositions, but it's inevitable.
Yeah. We took somebody to lunch the other day and she was talking about how, for the most of us, we need some sort of catalyst. She called it the catalyst effect. You need some sort of something that really ignites a why inside you that you cannot turn away from. So I recently had some blood work done about 10 weeks ago, and my doctor's been on me for years. She's like, Jason, you got to do something. You got to do it because I have heart disease on both sides of the family. All my numbers that should be low are up, and all the numbers that should be up are low. And she's like, you're going to have to do something. So I just recently, 10 weeks ago, got my blood work done again. She's like, this is getting serious to the fact where like you're on track to at like 45 and 40, going to be 43 next month. She's like, something could happen between 45 and 50.
Yeah.
So I'm in my 9th week of having a personal trainer, which you and I talked a little bit on Facebook Messenger. So, that's big for me.
Absolutely.
Typically I'll go, the problem for me has been that I will work out hard for a month and not see results and just be like, I'm just the type of body type that can't lose weight.
And it's easy to do that.
Yeah.
The phrase that helps people overcome that mindset is, did you get to where you were in a month? Were you ripped a month ago and you made some bad food choices? You got a little, you laid on the couch a little too much, and then you ended up where you were? No. Then why would you expect to dig yourself out of that in a month?
Yeah, I haven't been ripped since like 8th grade.
I was actually a fat kid in 8th grade. I was a fat kid in middle school. It's kind of what triggered me going down this path.
Really? But we're going to have to go down that path again before this ends.
We'll talk about it. Absolutely.
Okay.
The thing is people have to realize this is, you're trying to build a sustainable fitness program. It's a lifestyle. It's not I'm going to do this for 21 days, get down to the body fat percentage that I want, and then, okay, I'm there. I made it. The dues have to be paid every single day. But the way that you feel, once you get your nutrition and your training on point, you'll never want to leave it. There might be a life event that derails you a little bit, or you might go through a season where you're not as motivated, but if you can set some new goals, you'll never want to leave that feeling if you know what both feel like. And unfortunately, most people can't get that strong why until that bad doctor's visit.
Right.
Like my goal and what I try to do every day is to preach why we need to do it before that happens. But as good of content I put out doesn't matter. The majority of the population will wait until they have that wake-up call before they buy into it.
I've said this on this podcast many times, and I think it's worth repeating, but that one of the big epiphanies of my life is just realizing that there is no such thing as easy street.
Right.
You know, I mean, after you work and sell these gyms, it's not like your life's going to be a cakewalk after
Right.
that. I mean, you're still going to have goals and aspirations. You're still going to want to hustle. I mean, once a hustler, always a hustler. But there's that thought of like, well, I'll go to the gym for 6 months and then I don't have to work out anymore. I'll get my body the way I want it and I'm done. But just kind of through like just hardcore people like David Goggins.
Yes, huge fan.
And Tom Bilyeu put a quote on Facebook or something the other day. It was like, you know, we really, in the suffering is where we really find ourselves. Like, and he was just working out in the gym.
Absolutely.
And so, I mean, I guess I'm really trying to train my mindset to where, yeah, it sucks to go to the gym. It probably sucks to go to F45 for 45 minutes and train your butt off. But it's like, it's finding the benefit in that sacrifice or that suffering. You know, that's the reward.
Right. And it's so much more than physical.
Yeah.
Mentally.
Mental, confidence.
And it's easy to draw a correlation with a business-minded person or a real estate agent. Anyone who is used to, quote unquote, the hustle, right? It's no different. Like, you love real estate. You love having a brokerage, all of these things, I'm sure. But there are little micro fires every single day that make you absolutely hate it. Like, it sucks in the moment. But when you look at it from the 10,000 foot view, you love it. You can't get enough of it. Same thing with fitness. You take a 10,000 foot view, see yourself in 2 years if you stuck to the program you're on right now. Yes, it would suck in the moment, but you would realize, okay, I'm on the right path. This is what I'm doing. Like, it's no different than business. You do the hard things. And I always argue, do the hard things first. Get those out of the way. Then you can kind of coast out on it. Same thing with fitness. If you build this lean muscle tissue and you build these lifestyle habits, as you get closer to your goal, you can have more flexibility. You can start to introduce in a lot more things that you might have to be restrictive of in the beginning, but you can, quote unquote, you know, have a life. You can live a very well-balanced, healthy lifestyle, but you've got to put the work in on the front end. And
you don't have to sacrifice. What I'm finding too, is working with, but the trainer I work with is also a nutritionist. So she's like, here's a recipe for a dessert. It actually tastes pretty darn good.
Absolutely.
You know, here's the ice cream you can have in the store. It's not that bad.
Your palate will adjust also.
Well, I don't want to skip too far. I want to get into the health and nutrition and diet, but I want to get back to the suffering real quick because Victoria was in the Army. Yes. And she used to run. How long did you run? How distance-wise with a 60-pound rucksack?
We had 2-mile runs, and my fastest time was 14 minutes, 20 seconds.
With a 60-pound pack on?
No. We didn't wear the packs.
So how far distance-wise did you have to run with the pack?
It just depends on the ruck. They're called ruck marches, and it would depend on that day.
Sounds intense.
Yeah, but you said that when you go to the gym, like you try to intentionally put yourself in situations that are very intense, that are very physically challenging.
I am. I'm very competitive with myself.
Yeah.
And if, we do a 6K and I'm comfortable with that, I'll definitely upgrade myself. But I think the mental part is what I really favor out of it more than the physical.
Yeah. People never believe me when I say that, yes, you are going to benefit from it physically, but what's going to change your life is the mental aspect of it. Mm-hmm. How you talk to yourself, how you carry yourself in a room. That's the most rewarding part of what I do. Yes, it is seeing people get off of medications. I'm very passionate about that. It's seeing people's body composition change. But the best thing is watching them day in and day out walk through those doors and how they carry themselves. I mean, we're just now at a point, Spring Hill, my first studio is around 9 months old, I believe, maybe 10 now. Not very good at math. That's why I'm into fitness.
Yeah.
But I'm just now seeing people where it's like, man, I don't even remember the old you. I see an old picture, an old video of somebody, and I'm like, he was timid. Right. He was shy. Now he's the
life
life of the party.
And it happens fast.
It does. Yeah. And they don't remember how far they've gone either. That's just their everyday now. Like, yeah, bro, like, of course.
It's like new comfortable.
Yeah, so you literally transform your character in the gym.
I love that. And David Goggins talks about how we're only operating at a very small percentage of our potential. And so I think just seeing like what you're capable of and what your body can actually withstand and what you can mentally overcome. Like if you go and see this workout, you're like, there's no way I can do that.
Absolutely. And keep upping the ante. You know, I'm training for a triathlon right now. I've always been the guy who says, I'm good at fast twitch stuff. I love HIIT. You put a weight in front of me, I'll pick it up. But I'm not a runner. Definitely not a swimmer. When I jump in the pool naturally, I sink to the bottom. And I'm not the best cyclist, I would say. And last night, actually, I went on I just got a bike, so I'm training for this triathlon. And it was my first ride, and I went with these guys who ride all the time. We went 24 miles.
On your first ride?
First ride ever. And whenever I asked them how far we were going, they said, you don't want to know, just follow us. I'm like, okay. You know.
How did you do that? How did you pull through the entire...
Are you saddle sore?
We'll have to extremely. Did you not see how I walked in here? Oh my God. And I called them today and I'm like, hey, I don't think the pads in my shorts are thick enough. And they're like, no, they are. You just got to build up you got to bruise a little at first. I'm like, all right. But no, I mean, even me, I've been in fitness going on 10 years now. And yesterday I did something that if you asked me, even at my current fitness level, I'd say, I'm not going to ride 24 miles my first time hopping on the bike. And if I would have been by myself, part of why I'm so big around the team train movement and building a community is that I would have rode maybe 4 to 5 miles by myself.
Yeah.
But 24 miles, when we stopped to turn around, I was like, is this
the end?
Halfway mark? And they're like, yeah. And I looked on my app and I was like, we've gone 12 miles.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. But every day, so now I'm attaching that goal because I've grown stagnant in my own fitness. To be honest, the past year of my life, year and a half, I've devoted it to working on other people's fitness to where I've still maintained mine, but I've let myself slack in a lot of areas. I've put a lot of energy into others, but you can't fill other people's glasses out of an empty jug, right? And I was getting close to that empty. And by, saying, I'm going to do this triathlon when I can't swim. When I started swim training, I couldn't. So it's 25 meters each trip down the pool. 125-meter swim, and I was panting, like almost drowning if I tried to go back for 50.
Even though you're in great shape.
Even though I'm in great shape.
Yeah.
It's I'm just out of my element.
Yeah.
But by doing that, it has made me so much more passionate about my own training again. It's like it relit that fire.
So how far is the run, the swim, and the bike? What
the swim is 800 yards, so 8 football fields. The bike is 15 miles. Then I'm doing 2 different ones that have different distances, so I'm kind of mixing the 2. One's a 400-meter swim, one's an 800-yard swim. The bike is somewhere around 15 miles, and then it's a 5K run to finish.
Okay, where's that at?
The first one's going to be in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi. And then the second one's going to be Try the Gulf in Dauphin Island.
Okay, both in the summer, right?
Yes,
in the
both
summer
is, well, the first one in the summer. The first one's actually a month away, and I just started training yesterday.
Wow.
Then the second one's going to be in October, so it'll be a little bit
so you
a little bit better.
break.
But both of these are kind of just practices. The one that I really want to perform at is the Grandman next year.
Yeah, I've actually crossed the Grandman finish line.
Awesome. Well, we might have to do that one together next year.
I just started running right when I got up to the finish line
to get a picture.
It was really sad, but you're still challenging yourself just because. I mean, the reward is the mental aspect of it. You're
absolutely. If you don't have anything to push towards. When people say that they have no goals, I'm like, you're a liar, or you wouldn't have gotten out of bed this morning, right? That's why I've never understood atheism, because at least believe in something,
right?
If the belief in nothing, that's a lie. If you believed in nothing, you wouldn't have the motivation to roll out of your bed that morning. Everybody has something that they're pressing towards. I think a lot of people have just thrown it in the back closet and said, life dealt me this. So that, I wrote that off. But when you set these goals, then you take action steps towards them and you can see the progress, your fire's lit like no other.
When you started saying that, I started thinking, most people don't want to maybe believe in something and, follow a righteous path because it's hard. It's the hard path. But here's the other epiphany of life is that, if easy street's a myth, the more times you choose the easy road, life gets harder. You choose the hard road, life gets easier. And if more people would just realize that, I've got somebody that works for me is just looking at me like, why are you doing this to yourself? Why are you putting yourself through all this punishment? But she's not happy with the way she is physically, and she's constantly referring back to pictures on her phone. Look, I used to be skinny. I used to be skinny.
Playing the highlight reel is what I call that.
Yeah.
Anytime somebody does that to me, I call him Uncle Rico.
So
Napoleon Dynamite, watching film from high school, I'm like, Don't be Uncle Rico.
Do you say, like, if you see somebody at a social function, they're like, oh, they give you kudos for what you do and how many people you're helping, and they're like, yeah, I really need to do that, and they refer back to this skinny version of themselves, but they're like, it's just not for me. Like, they just look at it like you're. I don't want to torture myself. Do you say anything to them, or like you just do you and call me when you're ready, or do you?
What I actually do is I ask them to hand me their phone and I sign them up for the free trial.
Really?
And then I get them in my lead gen software, and then I just relentlessly follow up with them.
Yeah.
Now, how well that works, we won't talk about that. You know, I like to pretend I have a higher close rate on that move than I do because it sounds really cool. But yeah, that's my new strategy. Is I'm like, hey, can I borrow your phone for a second?
Yeah. Looking back at like old versions of myself is not just proof that I can get back to that. I've been there before, but it's also a motivator for me.
Absolutely.
I can't say I've ever just looked back at an old picture of me and been like, well, that was nice while it lasted.
And, you know, people just do it. They just compare it to the physical. Like, yes, in your 50s, you can't get the same physique you had in your 20s. But if you take care of your health overall, you as a human being, you didn't peak then. Like, you've still got room to go. Mm-hmm. You might not have the same size biceps, but when you combine the physical fitness with the mental awareness that you have now, the maturity, all the wisdom that you have, you're a better all-around human being. So when people say their glory days past them, you know, I can't remember who said it. I want to say Abe Lincoln because he's my favorite. But someone once said, if you believe your best days are ahead of you, they are. If you believe your best days are behind you, they are.
Right.
And I always misquote people. I'm going to give that one to Abe. But it's true.
Well, my wife says that, like, I don't believe that I'm a snorer, but she says that I am. But she says, like, you didn't snore last night. Or I'm sleeping better.
Absolutely. Which is
energy level.
thing.
Like, I was, I'm a big napper.
Yep.
But, like, just the very basic benefit for me was just cognitive.
Absolutely.
Like, my brain just wasn't as cloudy.
Have you ever tried intermittent fasting?
I have. Yeah.
Cognitive. I mean, I literally feel like I took the Limitless pill every morning.
I've heard it's not very healthy.
Well, my argument to that is you always need to consult a physician first because there are certain metabolic reasons why some people can't. And if you're on medications, there are a bunch of factors in. But if we just argue that fasting as a whole isn't healthy, then my response to that is, how do you think we got here as a species? Right?
Oh, no, I'm very big on spiritual fasting, which sometimes involves
every
foods and stuff.
single religion has fasting across the board. Any major recognized religion in the world includes an aspect of fasting. It's probably not by accident. Then if you think back to our ancestors, when we were hunter-gatherers, we didn't have 6 meals a day, every 3 hours spaced perfectly. And I can say this because I come from a personal training background where I coached every single client to eat first thing when they wake up, then eat every 3 hours on the dot. And now I say, don't eat breakfast. I am a huge proponent of it. Obviously, there are outliers there. It's not even just for metabolic reasons, for weight loss. It's the cognitive function, and there's so much cell rejuvenation in it that you're literally eating away cancer cells whenever you're fasting. And we won't go down that rabbit hole.
Well, I know we got to promote F45, but talking about Lauren, just the lady from my church that we interviewed last week, she feels like she cured herself of cancer. She got melanoma. Mm-hmm. It spread to her lymph nodes in her chest. Mm-hmm. She started doing a bunch of research. She came across the Master Cleanse, did it for 13 months straight, had no chemo, no radiation, no surgery, and she's been in remission for like 2 years.
I believe it 100%. It's mental, then obviously dietary are huge factors in it. And, I got really into this science hole where I was studying crazy like epigenetics and neuroplasticity and all this. And I started studying placebo trials.
Yeah.
With
that
cancer.
Was interesting.
Oh my gosh. The number of people who have cured themselves from cancer thinking they were getting chemo that allowed themselves to participate in a study is outstanding.
Oh, wow. That is fascinating.
Just for mindset. Also, the flip of that, you have people who thought they were on chemo and all their hair fell out.
That's crazy.
That is wild.
When they were getting saline.
No.
Yeah. The mind is powerful.
I believe how fast this time has gone. All right, so let's talk about F45.
Yeah.
Why did you get started with? Why did you select F45? Because you could have gone with a number of different franchises or gym.
Well, I was always the guy who said, I will never be involved in a franchise. I'm too original. I'm an entrepreneur.
Right.
You know, I want it to be Andy V Fitness, not F45. I want it to do things my way, when I want, how I want. Throughout the years, my training has evolved a lot. I went through a little stage where I wanted to do fitness modeling, so I did more bodybuilding style lifting. Then I got into, obviously, pursuing a professional athletics career, very performance-based training. And then I went on to do some CrossFit competitively, and then even into some flexibility, some yoga, things of that nature. So I had all these different kind of training ideologies. And over the years, I had molded them together to build my clients' programs and say, well, I have a background in this, 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 and this. And I take the things I like from certain areas and apply them, get rid of what I don't like. And whenever I saw F45 and looked at their programming, it was literally like the dream I'd kind of had to create a group style fitness gym with the exact type of movements that I would want to do. Then the piece that was so attractive with F45 was the proprietary technology. So our screens on the wall that are showing the workout to the clients while they're doing it, that's the piece that I'd never connected the dots on. And I used to always tell people, I'm like, man, I got all these ideas. I need a friend who's a tech nerd to make them come to life. I'm not a techie, very self-aware. I know I'm not, and it's not worth the investment of time for me to even attempt. So whenever I saw that they had it all packaged together, I said, this is worth looking at. And then whenever we went out to California, it was weird. It was a week of me bumping into people, having conversations. And then I would step back after I had the conversation and say, this guy thinks like I think. I'm like, I don't have these interactions every day. Like, this is insane. Oh, it's a fluke. Meet the next guy. Wow, that was a conversation just like that. Oh, wow, we believe in social media marketing. We're on the same page on that. We're talking about the same tactics. Oh, we believe in this style of programming. Oh, we believe in customer service, like Disney Institute principles that I've been through that we've applied to tourism businesses. Like, this is awesome. So it was a no-brainer for me just because there was such a match there. And the biggest piece was that, you know, the founders will tell you we are dedicated to innovation. We constantly want to adapt to new fitness trends, new studies, new discoveries that we come out with, and change our product. We're not set in any one discipline, and we're not too proud of it to say, you're right, we should make this different. Boom, we can make this different. And the technology allows us to do that across the network instantaneously.
So it's 45 minutes. What's typically happening in that 45-minute period?
So whenever you walk through the door, you're going to be greeted by name. Huge on that. We're going to line you up, and your coach in the session is going to show you every single movement that you're going to do. So we're going to walk you through it. We're going to tell you things to focus on while you're doing it, as well as offer regressions or progressions. So we can make any movement that we do over 4,000 different movements. Our claim to fame is that we never repeat a movement twice, or never repeat a workout twice. So literally, when you walk in the door, you're getting a curveball every single day.
Wow, that's fascinating.
That keeps not only your body guessing. We all know that your body will plateau to physical right. Adaptation will set in, but the mental piece, right? If you do the same template over and over again, that's how you get burnout. That's not sustainable.
Right.
So the coach is going to go through every single movement. We're going to do a dynamic warm-up that's going to engage the muscle groups that we need to for that day's workout. We're going to do the workout. At the end, we're going to bring you a eucalyptus towel that just revitalizes you.
Wow.
It's literally people say that they only come back for the towel. That's an ongoing joke. So much so that we just made t-shirts that say #DoItForTheTowel.
Really?
But
I need one of those.
Yeah, I'll get you one. Absolutely. Aside from that, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we focus more on cardiovascular, but there's still strength components mixed in. Tuesday, Thursday, we focus more on strength. So building that lean muscle tissue, that's really what separates us from a lot of the other HIIT style programs you'll see on the market is we have a strong focus on strength and building that lean muscle tissue because that's what's going to make your results sustainable. You can be a cardio queen and burn all this fat, but if you're not replacing some of that with lean muscle tissue, that's what raises your metabolic rate, what makes it sustainable, what allows your body to burn calories every day without you doing anything, just because the muscle consumes oxygen. Then Saturday is an hour-long sweat party that's a hybrid of the two. We do 27 different movements and Saturday workouts every single time that you come through there.
That sounds intense.
I think I'd enjoy it.
I think we should make Victoria do that.
I think we should find out.
I think we should make Victoria do it, and then we should film it.
There we go.
Yeah,
we should video
that didn't work out too well for you last time.
Well, I'm just going to actually videotape this so that I can
We'll make it happen.
the whole
I'm
session.
okay with that.
You just let me know when you're free. I know you're a busy lady.
Yeah, she is.
If you're rolling around with Jason, we know it.
She loves it. Well, listen, man, that like flew by so fast.
It did.
I'm sorry we didn't get to dive in more of this because you were talking about how this is like one of the fastest growing fitness franchises in the world,
the fastest in history in the
in
world.
history.
So 4 years.
I guess that's pretty good.
1,750 locations in 43 countries.
Wow.
And blowing up like crazy. And so and it was huge in Australia. We're still fresh in the US. So in Australia, they equivalent it to the number of Starbucks that we see here is F45 Studios over there.
Wow.
Then in the US, we just brought on Mark Wahlberg as our minority stakeholder in the company. So since he's been on board, the plans he has is blowing it up. It's absolutely insane. And we'll hopefully have him in the studio working out one of these days because he's got to come down and check
That's
on his
when I wanna
restaurant
go.
at
Yeah.
That's when I want to go.
Well, come once before then because I don't have an accurate timeline
I
on
might bring
that.
a plus one.
I don't have an accurate timeline on that, but I'll definitely let you know when he does.
That's when I want to go, she says. All right, Andy Vickers, F45. Is there a specific website? Anything you want to mention, plug?
Yeah, so F45training.com /Spring Hill USA or /Daphne will take you to both of our studios. We're on Facebook, Instagram, all that. And if you want to keep up with me personally, it's at @_Andy Vickers.
All right, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, I enjoyed it. Thanks for listening to the Impact Agent Podcast. If you liked the show and got something out of it, please like the Impact Agent Podcast on Facebook and rate and review the show on iTunes or anywhere you listen to podcasts. This really helps us grow the show and helps other agents find it. Please share it with your friends and coworkers as well. Want us to deliver the show to you via email every week? Then email me at jason@impactagentuniversity.com and we'll send you the show every week. Please let us know what you think about the show, what you like, what you don't, or possibly make a suggestion about a topic you want to hear. Email me at jason@impactagentuniversity.com or leave us a message on Facebook at Impact Agent Podcast. Until next week, everybody be productive, safe, and happy, and always keep learning. This podcast is produced by Johnny Gwynn at Deep Fried Studios in Mobile, Alabama, and is paid for and powered by ImpactAgentUniversity.com.